record. Just give me a second, I beg, please. Some of them want to record, so let me allow them to record. Okay, we are allowed to record all students. Thank you. Good. So there's a commercial bank example, ministry example, one of the ministries, teaching hospital, university, fintech, manufacturing, telecom, public sector agency, healthcare startup, NGO is the last one. So I would advise that whichever group that you choose to be in, the scenario you pick, let it be something that is relevant to at least one or two people who work in that area. It helps in developing the policy. Helps in developing the policy. If you are in the area of study, it helps in developing the policy. So make sure that at least maybe if you choose the telecom one of you works in the telecom sector, it helps. I'm not saying force it to happen. So you are building an integrated IT policy and strategy package for the startup if you are doing the healthcare one. Mhm. Thank you very much. Now the deadline, I'll show you the deadline. The deadline is 31st July. Submitting the 31st July. And you're supposed to also show how you're going to communicate the policy and the strategy within the organization, whether you're using videos, infographics, brochures. Most important, write the policy first and then have your communication package. Your communication package, you show it during your presentation. You don't submit it to me. You only submit the strategy to me. Then the communication package, you come and show it when you are doing your presentation. Okay. Let's quickly go to Sakai so that I show you what we have there. So this is Sakai. The course is my 604. So the link to the YouTube videos, the videos that I played, the link to it is here. So you can open it. You can watch the video summary for chapter 1 and chapter 2. You will not have access to chapter 3, 4, and 5 until we go to that place. So the chapter 1 and 2 are activated for everybody, but the rest are private. Okay. So you can watch it. Please, even after teaching the class, go back and watch it. This is the same place I'll put the class video after the class. Yeah, I'll put it here. But the reason why I'm saying that watch it is that it helps you to understand better all that prof said. Now you watch it before you came to class. After the class, now watch it again and you see that the understanding clarity will be better than the first time that you watched it. Thank you. So on Sakai, when you go into Sakai, you realize that you have the resources where you see the course outline, the chapter 1, chapter 2 slides, and then the challenge. And when you go to assignments, you also see that you are in group 1. So group 1 is open to 31st July 2026. You click on it and upload. The groups will upload. Please, the groups that are being formed, don't call yourself group 1, group 2, group 3. It will confuse us. Call yourself IT company names like AT&T. No MTN now. MTN is not in good books now. So if you go and see MTN and there's a problem, you have a problem. So please choose the names that are not Ghanaian friendly now. So you can choose Apple, you can choose Boeing, you can choose Distance, whichever SpaceX, and but try and choose something that relates to the field that you are in. So if you're in healthcare, don't go and choose Disney. Disney is not in healthcare. Don't go and choose Disney if you're in healthcare. So choose what is relevant as the name of your company, and let us give the name of the company, the list of the students, their index numbers, their phone numbers, their email address, and then the question number they have chosen, the scenario number they have chosen, whether it's number 3 or number 4, number 5. We would like to know about that and the name of the scenario. Maybe it's healthcare startup or something like that. Please let us know. Compile it for me, Harold, and let me have it before next class. So by next week, I will have the
Okay.
class list with the names of the groupings in it and their names. Because the group work, as I'm teaching, I'll be referring to the group and be telling you certain things relevant to you. Thank you very much on that. Has anybody got a question on the? So the 31st July is a submission. So each group will submit. One member of the group will submit. The group lead will submit. You don't need to submit. Everybody submit it individually. Then, if you belong to group one, don't go submitting group two column. You will not be able to track it. I beg you, please. Don't do that. And to go against your department, your group members. So please don't do that. Group marks is 40. So please, club members participate. Don't lose the 40 marks because of somebody being lazy in the group. If the person is lazy, report the person and remove the person. Let the person go and find his own team to be with. So they can get your work done. The work is quite a lot. So share the work early. Okay, then. Thank you very much. Now let's go to what we are teaching today. Okay. What I'm teaching is directly coming from the text. So occasionally there's a need for me to refer to the text. I'll be referring to the text whilst I'm teaching. So so we look at defining IT policy, ISIT and policy, the relationship and the building blocks, the standards, guidelines, and procedures, policy meets strategy, and the um rule of policy. What you should work out, what you should work out, what should you work out able to do? What should your workout be able to do? Sorry. Differentiate, identify, and connect. Differentiate between between the IT policy standards, guidelines, procedures. Identify the different types of policy that's needed, and connect the relation between policy and strategy. Now, in the workplace that you are in, what's one policy you've come across before? The workplace that you work in. Let me hear from you. What was one policy you've come across before? Yes. Oh, Harold, why are you answering all the questions? Please stop. There are a lot of Emmanuel Champon. You have a nice politician face. Let me hear from Emmanuel Champon. Emmanuel Champon, in your workplace, what was one policy that you have come across? Yes, Emmanuel.
Say,
What's
okay,
one
so
policy you have come across? Yeah.
you have to change your password every 2 months. So to our system, our accounting system, SAP, you are
Okay.
required to change your password every 2 months.
Okay. Good. 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 Yes, Aminu.
Yes, sir. So I've heard of
Hey, you heard
asset
of?
asset. Yes, sir. In my company, I've heard of asset use policy where
Okay.
the devices that you are supposed to connect to the company network has to be assessed by the IT team before you can
Oh,
connect it.
okay, that's good. Okay, then Prince.
Yes, Prof. So we have information security policy at my end.
Okay. So you have an information security policy. That's good. That's a type of policy that's specific, one specific thing, security. Okay, so policies ensure or guide compliance. They are set at the high level by senior management, VPs, executive management, to produce and responsibly manage and protect information related resources. So we're not only just promote protecting information, but also protecting information related resources, which has to do with technologies that we use in the organization. And information includes both the one which is digital and non-digital. So if a file cabinet with all the records of people is part of the information we protect under an IS policy. Now, the policy comes from the top. It signals commitment. The company is committed to ensuring it come to pass and implemented. Now, most of the policies try to do three things. They establish the roles and responsibility, who can do what, and who is responsible for what. Number two, what's called the scope of the information we are protecting? What are we covering? Some of the policies are more specific to an activity. Acceptable use policy or use of IT policy. That has to do with how we use IT. Bring your own device to work policy. It's about bringing your devices to the office. So we can have specific policies, email policies. That has to do with the email technology. Social media policy. That has to do with the use of the social media. And even social media can have different ones. Social media promotion policy, like doing promotions on social media, and the marketing department can have specific sub policies or guidelines to speak to those particular activities. Now, policies are high level. That means that they exist to facilitate production and responsible usage of the information, but are not more prescriptive at the more of at the instructional level, more like what a procedure will do, step-by-step processes. You will not see it in a policy. Standards, you will not see them in the policy. Guidelines, you will not see them in the policy. Policy are more abstract, should I say, are higher levels in terms of their statements. They tend to look after things, activities at more of a higher level, so that we define procedures, we define guidelines, which will inherit the policy's recommendations or the policy's instructions or mandatory controls that they are putting across. So a password policy can say that passwords are supposed to be changed every 3 weeks, but the way you construct the password and what should be in it can be the complexity of the password could be stated by a standard. That's also a mandatory one. Yeah. And then how you would go about to do it, maybe how many numbers you should be in it and everything will be stated by a standard. Yeah. An example of how it will look like and in practice may be given by a guideline to tell you that the more you do this, the stronger it looks like. So a stronger password has 8 numbers, or 12 numbers or 13 numbers. It may tell you in the form of a guideline. A procedure will tell you that don't use your mother's name, or a guideline can even tell you, well, don't use your mother's name, your father's name, use something which is abstract or something like that. So how you construct it becoming a guideline. We'll look at these things as we go. So a policy will not be prescriptive like that. It will much more be giving you the general direction of where we are going. So, like he said, we have an higher security policing organization. Sometimes policies are specific to an activity, so security. So an higher security will talk about the scope of information that has to be protected, and then the mandatory controls that will govern the protection of the information. Usually the technical one, because it's security. Now, security policy does not include all the policies in IS policy. An information system policy can be much more broader than a security policy. So other policies may come together to form the information system policy. For example, responsible use of technology, that you give every person 2 hours a day of internet use. It's not security. It's more about responsible and acceptable use. But the security protocols to do with the 2 hours, 3 hours will come to the information security policy. So the security policy, as defined by University of California, policies they define how the Information Technology Services Unit approaches security, how staff, faculty, and students are to be approached, and how situations involving security management and breaches will be handled. So the latter part is even more important to me. How security management and breaches will be handled. All those things will be in an IS security policy. So if there's a breach right now, we'll look into what does our security policy say. Our IS security policy, we'll look into that to be able to understand what we should do. Okay. So let's continue. Now, to step back a little bit, what is information system? Information system is a set of components. The components include the people, the processes, the technology, the procedure, the policy that come together to be able to interact, to collect, process, store, provide, and output information needed to support decision-making organization. Now, the information system itself is an answer to a problem or a challenge, an opportunity the organization is facing. When we combine technology plus business processes, structure, processes, process and people, we get information systems. In the balance of technology words, when you are in the European Union, largely information system is very common because they look at it as from a system perspective. But if you go to some parts of North America, information system is the same as IT. They see the IT to consist of the people, the process, and everything in it. But ideally, the IT is just about the hardware and the software, and sometimes the communication layer. That's why we have ICTs. So the technology is going to be the hardware, the software, and the communication layer. But we need to add it to the policy, business structure, processes, and people to generate what we call an information system. So the system means that we are putting all these components together, arranging them in a very unique, coherent manner to be able to achieve the collection of data, the processing of data into information, the storage of the data, the output of the information needed to support decision making or activities or actionable activities, provide actionable insights in the organization. Okay. So IS is called IT plus people plus process plus B policy or structure. Information system is bigger than the technology. They govern arrangement, not just the machines. So IS policy will govern arrangement, more not just the machines. Number two, IT is more about the tangible layer, the equipment and code the business uses to achieve its objectives. So it may include the hardware and software primarily, and then the network infrastructure. In some circles, when we add the network infrastructure, we call it ICTs. ICTs. Okay. Now, what does the policy govern? The policy governs appropriate use of technology, business policy, structure and processes, and people to achieve sustained organizational objectives. Broad, full alignment. The policy wants to make sure that we are aligning business and IT, and we are using to achieve an outcome. IT policy and then people and processes, good. IT policy is more about how we use the hardware and the software and the network infrastructure to achieve and sustain organizational objectives. So IT policy is more on the technical, tangible layer. That has to be the hardware, the software, the network infrastructure that will sustain the organizational objectives. Please, do we understand it up to today, up to where I am, so that I can go ahead?
Yes, Prof.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, IT policies and IS policies do not exist in vacuum. We are in an organization, but the organization belongs to a sector. So there could be sector level policies. If you're a banking institution, there could be banking policies or regulatory policies that come from the banking regulator, that's Bank of Ghana. There could also be sector-based policies that come from the digitalization ministry, like from NITA, the National Information Technology Agency, that may guide us. So there may be data protection commission or data protection act. They may the electronic transaction act, cybersecurity act. All of them can inform what we do in information and information related activities in the organization. Then there need to be consistency. IS and IT policies should interpret applicable laws and regulations and stay consistent with the legal and contractual requirements in the organization, whilst we are adhering to what is legal within the environment that we work in. We also have to look at our internal processes and make sure that our contractual agreements with our partners, with other third parties that we work with, is in line with what the international laws require in terms of the business you are doing, what the industry requires, what the country requires, and what the organization mother company may require. Context and culture also sometimes plays a key role. Policies may be developed in cognizance with the context and the nature of business operations and the culture of the organization. I was telling a story with the other class that I remember deploying a printer in an office, and the printer was put in one particular lady's office, and it was supposed to be shared by two ladies. The other lady was never printing to the printer. He was printing to the network printer in another department and goes and pick it up. Then we realized that the two ladies who were bickering. We're not talking together. We're not talking. So when you put the printer in the other person's office, the other person will never print to that printer. So we move the printer and put it in the corridor, in the middle. That one, nobody needs to talk to each other. You print, you go and pick your item and go to your office. You print, you pick your item and go to your office. Because we didn't appreciate the contextual issues going on, the behavioral issues going on, that women not talking can go very far. They may not talk for years. So instead of us waiting for them to start talking, we rather solve the problem with the technology, put it in the middle. You come and print, you pick your thing and you go. The other person prints and pick your thing and go. These women are civil to each other, but they don't want to be friends. So we don't want a situation where somebody prints and somebody sabotage the printing, the thing that have been printed. So to be able to appropriately use resources, we put them in the middle. It's a network printer. We all print, we meet in the middle, you pick your item, you pick your item, and you go. So please, be sensitive to the culture, being sensitive to some of the behavioral issues in the organization matter. Don't deploy the system in a vacuum. Don't deploy the system in a vacuum. Who has experienced such cultural dimensions influencing the deployment of a system before? Who has experienced that? Or such people issues? People issues. Who has experienced that? Hey, nobody has experienced that. Or in your class, in your office. Irene, okay, Irene, wow. Yeah, Irene, share with me. Irene, you can share. Or is sensitive. Irene,
Prof, I was unable to use my microphone, that's why.
okay.
So I was working on University of Ghana campus some time ago. And then the office I was in, the secretary and then the administrator were not speaking. But I was a national service personnel. So anytime the head of department gives issues a command, I was the one circulating the information between the two. So I quite remember that some time ago there was an agent memo that was supposed to be sent to the head of department, and unfortunately the secretary was on leave, maternity leave, and she had a password on her desktop, so the administrator cannot get into the uh, desktop to retrieve the memo. Like, I don't know whether it was a memo or some important document. Myself, I did not have the password. I remember the head of department was very frustrated and asked under what condition was she supposed to put a password on a desktop that is meant for the office. And then not knowing because of their issues, that's the reason why this one has put a password on hers and this one has put a password on hers. So the next time, our head of department told them that they can have their issues, but when we come to the office, we don't need to be friends. It's a bonus if you are friends with your colleague, but work must go on. So he doesn't want to hear at any point that within between the two of them, there is a password to the extent that this one cannot access this one's the desktop, or this one cannot access the desktop. So we
Very,
have
very good
to,
example.
yeah, we have to resolve that issue immediately because it's extended to so many facets of the office.
And in usually I can imagine. I'm not surprised about what you're saying. So the story I was telling you is true. You realize that these things happen. So governance mechanisms usually as policies, they empower and disempower. They give us expectations of what we should expect, what is acceptable and what is appropriate behavior. They set boundaries of acceptable behavior and they empower employees. So a policy can actually even protect the bandwidth and the focus of what we can do. Look, for example, a policy that blocks social media at work protects the bandwidth and focus. Whom does it disempower? And who might it cost? When might that cost a firm? For example, the marketing department. If you ban everything on social media, the marketing department cannot use it and be able to track their activities. If you open everything for marketing department, what you realize is that people will get up during lunchtime from finance and go and sit in marketing department so that they can browse and go to, and get and catch up on their socials. I've seen it happen before. You open it for one unit and then friends from the other one, oh, Kwame, I'm passing through. Can I use your computer? He knows that your computer is have access to socials. He's going to just catch up with socials on your computer. But yours, you allowed us to do that because you are in marketing. So why is finance spending all his time there coming to chat and stuff? Why? He wants to come and use the social media platforms on your machine. So this happens a lot. You may empower some people, may disempower others, but it can also change behavior. Okay. So should organization have different policies for the information system and others for information technology? Or should they be one should be a subset? Technically, the information technology policy is a subset of the information systems policy in terms of the structural layout of the technologies. Information systems consist of the IT plus people, process, policy, and structure. So the IT is a subset, but it doesn't mean that the documentation of the IS policy should have the IT policy in it in entirety. You can have an IT policy that stands on its own, and then you can have an information system policy that references the IT policy. We have done that in University of Ghana in several situations. So we can have policies that reference other policies, and that's the best way to do that. Because some of the policies they are built incrementally, as and when things come up, then we mention them. For example, Eugene now has an AI policy, but it was not there in the beginning, but now it is there. So now that it has been passed, we talk about AI policies. It was just assented to just yesterday. Just yesterday. That one and the teaching and learning policy. But before the teaching and learning policy was done, there was online teaching and learning guidelines. So that they refer to that one too in the teaching and learning policy. Let me just show you an example of that using using as a so this is April 2026 teaching and learning policy of UG. Look at the document itself. Now, teaching and learning policy doesn't mean we had one, but maybe this is the updated one. So it talks about the purpose of the policy, aims of the policy, definition of terms. These are usually how policies are written. Application and scope, policy principles, roles and responsibilities, teaching and learning process, online teaching and learning. It goes evaluation of teaching, assessment, the learning environment, the library, use of ICTs in learning, course review and course development, faculty development, and related guidelines and policies. So if you look at the online teaching and learning, look at what it says here. Faculty and staff must consult the University Online Teaching and Learning Guidelines 2022. And I led the development of this one for conducting online teaching and learning. Now, if you look at this document is just 14 pages. So what it does is that it references all the other policies that have been relevant. So if you look at here, academic quality policy, assurance policy, student handbook policy, student handbook, guidelines for approval of new academic programs, Turn-it-in policy, handbook for doctoral students, handbook for graduate students, volume 2, handbook for graduate students, volume 3, handbook for master students, handbook for bachelor degree, volume 2, bachelor degree descriptions, volume 2, the dates are even different. And then they go on information and communication policy, June 2022. So you see here that there is even information and communication policy. There's online teaching guideline 2022, plagiarism policy 2025, regulations for junior members, that's students and then student facilities. Yesterday, you realized that there was an examination or 2 days ago, examination in WAEC, and then the students were vandalizing items. This is student facilities and student behavior. So even that is being captured in a teaching and learning policy, research policy, an upgraded handbook 2017 version for the College of Humanities, and then the research ethics policy 2013. So there is a lot that you are referencing because of the fact that things are built incrementally. So even in the formal ICT tools and applications, they state which of them are the ones you want them to use. You realize they didn't state the AI policy because the AI policy was enacted the same day this one was passed. So you can't call it. So the next one they review this one, they will call the AI policy in the documentation. So you see this one has 14 pages. If I should open the guidelines for e-learning policy or online teaching and learning, you realize that is about 40 pages. So instead of us having one big document, we have different ones that reference other ones. So even this one, the online teaching and learning policy, the last time I worked it was 2021, but by the time it was passed, it was 2022. So that's why you see the difference. Now, even this one, we also reference other policies. What do we reference? Reference the 1018 policy. We reference the students and staff special needs policy. We reference the sexual harassment policy. We reference the university ethics policy, and we reference the plagiarism policy. So we are referencing 5 other policies, and we came in 2022. So we cannot reference the AI policy, which has already come in 2026. And this is a 41-page document stating it. And we also reference in this one other ones which is beyond University of Ghana. For example, University of Ghana works with Copy Ghana. Copy Ghana is a reprographic rights organization of Ghana. They look after photocopy. And according to them, we don't have right to do more than 3% of a book photocopy or 3 pages. But we are here in University of Ghana. We see people doing photocopy plenty, and they may photocopy the whole book and they go and sell it. Even some of the students have turned it into business. They will photocopy the chapters and put it together into a nice binded material, and they start selling it to people. But according to the university, according to the copyright rules in Ghana or globally, we can only do 3% or 3 pages, whichever one is greater. So 3% or 3 pages, and then we can, and unless the work constitutes that, unless that work constitutes the whole work, in which case it's 50%. So what happens is that you can't do much more than that. But some people will say, okay, Prophet, that's the case. Today I'll do 3 pages. Then tomorrow I'll come and do another 3 pages. And then I'll come and do another 3 pages. So that you compare the whole book. You compare the whole book. But please, if you are doing that, you're breaking the bank to be able to steal from it. So please, I'm just saying that a policy can reference other policies. And the policies too can also tell you how to maintain the policy. So at the end of the policy, they tell you, somebody say, why don't you know about this? It's all about the latter part of the policy. The latter part of the policy has a statement on what we call policy service and maintenance. How are you going to disseminate the policy? The online teaching guidelines should be made readily available, accessible to the university members through what? The educational seminars, print, through academic units, and then electronic through the UG website. And then how are we going to amend it? The guidelines are presently set forth, and as they may be amended from time to time, are binding on every faculty and student. The Pro-VC for academics is responsible for enforcement, implementation, administration, management of the guidelines. The provost and deans are responsible for ensuring that academic and faculty and academic staff work within their unit to comply with the provisions of the guidelines. The university will develop supporting guidelines and other relevant documents to facilitate the execution of the guidelines. So even though these are guidelines, we need to put in other measures to help us to be able to implement it. Any amendment shall be effected in a similar manner. The guidelines may take effect immediately upon adoption by Business Executive Committee or the Academic Board of University. And that means that any amendment will have to go through the same process. So every good policy will have the process for administering and then maintaining it, and the process for dissemination. So I was just showing that one as an example. So let's then continue. If you have any question, you can ask, please. So standard guidelines and procedures. Prof is mentioning this, but what are they? Standards are, whilst policies are high level and statements usually set by the executive committee, standards are low level mandatory controls, usually can be set by middle management or can be set still by the executive committee, but they consist of specific low level mandatory controls to enforce and support the information system policy. They ensure consistency and coordination of design, development, implementation, usage of the information across the business. So a password standard will tell us the complexity of the password, and that which is applicable to all users, no exception. However, a guideline for the password will tell us specifics of what we expect to see in the password in terms of by best practice. So some of them can make it even mandatory that all passwords should be 16 alphanumeric characters. That can be a standard. Others can say that, okay, we'll tell you that a password should not be less than 8. Should not be less than 8. That can be a standard too. But in the guidelines, they can tell you that when you are doing a password, try to make it complex by adding this and that, or they can make it a standard that every password should have one letter, one alphabet, one numeric value, one capital, one small. So if they make it mandatory, then it is standard. If they make it advisory, it is guideline. So look at the differences. Guideline consider recommended but not mandatory. Control that support standards to serve as a reference when there's no applicable standard or policy. So sometimes when there is no applicable standard, when COVID came and we wanted to teach online, the tech told us that the Ghana tertiary education told us we can't go ahead without a policy. But policy takes time for it to be passed. So they told us that, okay, you can present the guidelines. So we developed the guidelines to be used during the COVID time. And then whilst we were using that policy guidelines, after some time, the university understood what you wanted to do, and they developed, turned it into, they adopted the guideline into the teaching policy. And that one was just done last year. So if you look at COVID, 2020, 2020, 2021, 2022, the guidelines came. Even during the COVID period, we're using the guidelines, but it had not been approved yet. It was approved by 2022. Look at 2022, 2021, since I finished the work, plus 5 years. Where are we now? 2020, what? Where are we now? A class, are you with me?
2026.
I'm asking a question, everybody is sleeping. Okay. So I finished in 2021, we are in 2026. When I showed you the policy, if you look at it very well, they say there's something there. What do you see here?
April
2026.
2026.
So how many years? From 2021, how
Just
many years?
about 2 months.
5 years.
5 years. 5 years.
Yes. So what we have been saying is true. It takes about 5 years before policies are accepted and put into place. So whilst they were there, what were we using? We were using the guidelines. Now that after 5 years, now we are saying that we have accepted the guidelines. So now we are referring to it here in the teaching and learning part, online teaching and learning. So you say that what? Faculty and they must consult, must. So it means that it's mandatory. Must consult the university online teaching and learning guidelines for details conducting online learning. So this document we have here cannot capture everything. Everything should be in here, but they give some specifics. For distance learning, online teaching and learning shall consume 90%. For regular programs where physical contact with students are expected, the online mode with the students shall not consume more than 20% of contact time. In-class physical contact should account for at least 80%, but the university is not following this one. Looking at what is happening to you, special programs. Because of the space and things, in reality, we don't have space to actually, the university wants money, so they are taking more students. When you take more students, you can't do the 80%. You see how the policy can be there, but the reality is a different story. You need infrastructure to be able to do the 80%. Initially, we're not even doing the 20% of the online because we didn't even have the infrastructure. It is COVID that pushed us to start thinking 20%, that even doing a little bit more than 20%. Please, do you understand it? So I will just letting you appreciate how policy can come, and then whilst policy is not there, you have a standard or a guideline. Okay. So let's continue. If you have a question, you can raise your hand, please. Good. So guidelines are best practices, not requirements, but strongly recommended. So if there's something which is strongly recommended, why won't you take what is strongly recommended? Because if there's a problem, they'll tell you that you didn't even take the recommendations that we give you. So it's strongly recommended. So if you don't follow it, that means that you should have a good reason of not following it. But with the mandatory ones, you can't say you don't follow it. Mandatory ones, you can't say you won't follow it. Procedures are also somehow mandatory in the sense that they are the manual or operational steps that you have to follow to get things done. So, for example, if you're installing a printer, they may give you a procedure within the printer manual, and they expect you to follow it. So, if you don't follow it very well, you will mess up the printer installation, and the computer you are using may not recognize the printer. And it happens to a lot of people when they jump steps. So, operational. It's very operational. It works at the operational level. That's where procedures live, where help desks are, where people are working with the users. And then the objective is to be able to empower the user to get his work done, but within the written policies and standards. That's it. So policy is a high-level statement that is set at the boardroom. Then from there, we go to the procedure, which is more at the keyboard level or at the action user level. Specificity increases as you descend. When you go up, it's more abstract. When you come down, it's more specific. Authority to approve is at the highest point. So the policies are where we do the approval. The standard are specific controls that will come. Then the guideline, then non-mandatory but strongly advised. Then the procedure. Follow where the work happens. Operational steps to implement. Now, let's like data backup. A policy will describe the need for data backup. Why do we need to do backups? Why does backup is needed? Why should we have off-site storage? What are the safeguards for backing up the media? Number two, the standard will then come and tell us what software you should use to perform the backup and how to configure the software. Then the guideline will come out with the best practices in performing backup. Maybe if you are doing backup the database before you back up the files. All of these things are things that will come up with within guidelines. But somebody can make it a standard that back up the website database after that you go and back up the files. But in guidelines, you can also, so that if you're backing up the database, name it in a way that we can be able to understand it. Because sometimes the database name may not be friendly. It may be a coded name. If it can maybe figures, because you don't want people to hack. If your database is for students and you call it student database, if somebody's hacking you just type student database and be able to find the database. So sometimes you may name it differently. Stud 3890035 and put some funny numbers in the naming of the database. But when you come to documenting it for backing up, you may either keep the same name or you may have notes or some kind of a document that you have explained that this one with this code name is for the student database. This one with this code name is for the faculty database. Then the procedure, so those things can come in the guideline. Then the procedure to how to do it will be the step-by-step process of using that particular backup software. That can come from the company's website, the ones who develop the backup software, and you can maybe modify to suit your organization. Question watching, please, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Prof.
Okay.
So what I've encountered, almost what I see in organizations is there's a policy and then there'll be a standard operating procedure, which sort of merges the 2 and 4 together. So then it defines what software should be used and then also talks about the frequency of the backup and a few other things. It's a bit of a deviation from what you are showing us. So I'm just wondering, is it because companies are just trying to reduce the number of documents that they have for people to follow, or a short-handed version is also accepted?
Okay, so you have actually answered yourself. Have you answered yourself? So when you go to very large firms, they will still have the policy, they'll have the standard, they may call it rules. They have the guideline, they have the procedure. But it's not everything that will have guidelines. And then so everything that will have procedures. Some of them will just have policy and standards. Some of them can have policy and procedures straight away. Now, you combining the two is possible depending on the activity they are doing. So the standard operating procedures has combined the standards to what? Procedures. Is that not what you just said?
Yes, please.
Good. So it's about the nomenclature the company wants to use. I'll show you an example in which the company uses different nomenclature, but the essence is the same, meaning they are trying to emphasize. But what you said is true. There may be reasons of simplicity so that people can follow easily. There may be reasons of how they do things across board. So across the whole organization, there are SOPs that we are supposed to follow. And that SOPs are emanating from what? The policy. Or sometimes even emanating from the strategy.
Thank
Policies are intended to last for a longer time, up to about 5 years, whilst standards may change more often as compared to policy. And network security standard may require all new substantially modified systems to comply with ISO standard X509, which involves authenticating a secure communication channel through a public key cryptography. That standard is likely to be revised or replaced within a few years. Okay. Good. So you can have policy that may be there for a longer time, but a standard may be changed quite more often. Now let's look at the example that you give us. This is Michigan University. Now you see that they don't have standard there, but they have got what you call rules. So let's read it. Kwesi Wachi, if you can read the first part for us, the top part.
Okay. WMU's Office of Information Technology runs a policy and communications unit. It facilitates development of IT policies, rules, guidelines, and procedures. Works with the campus security committee and other constituents. It educates the campus on policy, law, and best practice.
Thank you very much. Very good. So you see their role. Their role is what? The development of the policy. They're working on implementation with the campus security committee and other constituents, and doing the communications part, educating people on the policy, the law, and the best practices. Now, look at what they say: the policy, the law. So that's the rule. Okay. Now look at the policy. Communicates compliance in matters pertaining to university data and computing assets, initiated by Campus Information Security Committee and other constituents. This policy is dynamic, reviewed annually to stay relevant with best practice. So why are they reviewing it annually? Whilst we said policy is supposed to be about 5 years, why are they doing this one annually? Who can tell us? Why are they doing yes, Kwesi? Go ahead.
So, Prof,
Mhm.
can I?
Yes. Go ahead, Kwesi.
So in highly regulated industries, like let's say the banks where BOG
Yeah.
sits, the regulator imposes on them to review their policies every 12 months.
Yes, please. So the dynamism may be coming from regulator enforcement or recommendation or requirement. Number one. Number two, the technologies you are dealing with in the sector evolve very fast, especially in a university context. Students are using AI, they are using this, they are using that. So to be consistent and relevant, you need to be also stay up to what is relevant by doing what? Reviewing it. So the answer is there. To stay relevant with the past practices, what is changing in the industry. Good. But the policy is initiated and its compliance lies in the hands of what? The Campus Information Security Committee and the other constituents who they work with. The standard, similar to the policy, it describes the operations and definition and constraints of using computing resources. So the policy is much more broad, but now the standard is now looking at definitions, operations, constraints in the use of computing resources. Guidelines are recommended actions, operational guides for users. For user, created collaboratively with subject matter experts from computing support units and incorporating the best practice. So they will meet with business school, who are your subject matter experts. Law school will come, and then they will bring maybe School of Performing Arts. They say that School of Social Sciences. All of you, let's sit together. What are some of the things that pertain to how you work? What kind of recommended actions are needed to be able to make sure that the policy is seamless or the use of IT is seamless within your unit? So we come with recommendations based on that. Procedures are then then outlined in terms of tasks to be performed to achieve a desired outcome, which is created by the central IT or departmental groups. So the procedures will help them to achieve the desired outcome, but the step-by-step processes or tasks that you are supposed to do, or steps you are supposed to take to be able to enforce the rules or enforce the guidelines. So we have answered what is the role of the policy and communication unit? We discussed who are the stakeholders of the policies. We didn't discuss that one. So who are the stakeholders of the policies? Who are the stakeholders? Who are the beneficiary for it? Okay. Who are the stakeholders of the policy? Please, let me hear from you. Harold, hey, Harold, you are answering all the questions. What is all these other students doing? You go ahead. I don't have time to wait for all of them. So, Faustina is here. Fefe is here. George is here. Hanan is here. Isaac Smart Abbey. Hey, you are here twice. In fact, you answer the next question. You are here twice. Only you have logged on twice. Okay, so let me get Harold, go ahead.
Okay, sir. Please, I'm taking it from the beneficiaries. Assuming if we, the employees or students using that device, we play the impact that we. Hello, sir. Sorry, I'm taking it from the beneficiaries, so students, employees.
Okay. Student and employees, you are right in this sense. And certain guests, there are guest accounts are done, guests who are passing through the university. So they sometimes also have to idea. So some of them, some policies even mention what the guest policy is for IT, guest policy, and how guest accounts can be opened, and who can open a guest account, and how long a guest account should be active. A guest account can even inform how we allow guests to be on the internet network. So guest accounts are there. Okay. So we have got IT policy and IT strategy, which are two different things. Look at Chichester's IT, the relation between their strategy and the policy. So the University of Chichester says that the digital IT strategy sets forth the direction for developing IT services in the university. And the vision of the university to embrace the best technology so every student has an outstanding learning experience. It is built to support the 2020 vision, University 2020 vision. It aims to exploit digital technology it aims to exploit digital technology so staff and students succeed in the digital world today and in the future. So the vision is much more the ideal thing they want to do, which give the students outstanding learning experience. Number two, exploit digital technologies to help them succeed today and tomorrow. So the digital and IT services set direction for developing IT services in the university. So if IT services are going to develop, what's the direction for them will come from the strategy. However, when the services are developed, we need policies. So IT services exist so staff and students can carry out the work, research or studies. Access is authorized on condition of compliance. Governing documents which contribute to the IS or IT policy is the Electronic Information Security Policy, the IT Code of Conduct, the IT Provisioning Policy, the Mobile Phones and Purchasing and Use Policy. Hey, university, we have mobile phones purchasing and use, okay, for employees. Data Protection Policy and email account sharing requirements, SharePoint best practice guidelines, and equipment loan. I saw that one in University of Manchester. We have equipment loan policy. Yeah, so that you can hire laptops from the university. Now, all of this come together to be able to define IT services. In fact, hiring of laptops was seen as one of the IT services. Yeah. So if you look at this carefully, somebody can argue that, Prof, it looks like the strategy came first and then the policy came to support the strategy. Yes, that's what is actually happening. The strategy was defined, this is where we want to go and how we are going to support the organization. And then the policy was defined to govern the IT services that we are yet to create through the strategy. So we develop IT services, then we govern them by the policy. It's possible that the strategy can come before the policy. In this case, the policy comes to serve the strategy. But it's also possible that the policy, if you look at the video example that we watched earlier, the policy will tell us where we are going. And then the strategy will tell us how we are going there. Those of you who watched the video, you saw the example that they do, the illustration that they did, that the policy will tell us the limits of where we are going, the limits for us in terms on the road, where we can go, where we can drive to, where we cannot drive to, the boundaries for us. But the policy will tell us, the strategy will tell us the pathway that we are going, whether you are driving a car or you are driving a bicycle, or it will come from the strategy. Okay. So if somebody should ask you that which one comes first, let the person know it depends. The nature of the institution, the maturity of IT in the institution, and the type of services or IT resources that we are trying to govern. In this case, we are governing IT services. IT services are deployed as a strategy in the organization already. So we then use the policy to support the IT services. So when we say what's the relation between the IT strategy and the core vision or strategic direction of each staff, we can see that the strategy is supporting or enabling the core vision. And then what is the relation between the IT strategy and the policy? The policy is coming here to support the IT strategy. That's what we have seen in here. But in example, policies are high-level documents developed by management to transmit guiding strategy and philosophy to employees. That's the principle. That is the ideal state. They can be developed internally based on international standards such as the common criteria of the ISO 17799. Okay. Now the policy is a governing mechanism. What it is and what is not, it's not done. That's all. That's it. It's a governing mechanism. The strategy is the methodology used to achieve an objective or goal as prescribed by the policy. Now, it is possible that an organization can have a strategy or goal they want to be able to achieve, but it's coming from the business document, that's the business policy, not the IT policy. Please be careful. The business policy is that we are supposed to provide cars at affordable prices to consumers. That's the business policy. And that is the vision of the business. Then we use a strategy to be able to achieve it. Then we develop a policy to support that strategy, and that becomes the IT policy, serving the IT service. So if we develop websites to be able to, for you to configure your car there and then to buy the car, we can develop policies to support that website development, that car development process on the online. That if you are buying a car through our website, you have to have a bank, you have to have a credit card. If you are buying a website through it, you have to be above 18 years old. If you are buying a car through our website, you have to have a local partner who we can ship the car to. All these are policies that are supposed to support the buying of cars through the website, which is an IT service. However, that IT service is supporting the business policy, that the policies that we are in business of selling cars through online platforms. So what we are trying to say is that the policy, the strategy can emanate from the business policy, but the IT policy will then govern the strategy that we have. That is one way. Another way is that somebody can say that I am building my whole business as an IT business and it's enabled by IT. So from the whole thing, the strategy is around IT. And he will then start by starting, these are my policy, so his business policy is technically an IS policy from beginning. But the business is an IT business. So his business policy is an IT policy. And in that case, the strategy is learning from the business policy, which is an IT policy. However, when you develop the service, you have other policy to run the service. That's what I wanted to point out. Who formulates it? The top management, middle management initiate it, but it takes effect only after top management approval. Basic middle management, the strategy may be run by basically the middle management, and it also include top management. So even though we may have a strategy, it's a business. When we come to rolling out the policy, it may come from top management, but they will release resources to support it. Policy is usually the thought and behavior and actions. Strategy is more about primarily about actions. Okay, so let me give an example. The University of Ghana is in the business of what? Training people. Good. And then giving them skills and then certification to go and work in the world. In doing so, we want to do it in the most honest manner and most contemporary manner in terms of using the state-of-the-art technologies that exist. Now, because of that, we have a business policy that we have set up that we are going to develop and roll out students. So we have our teaching policy. But in order to make our teaching policy much more competitive and much more relevant in today, we also want to make sure honesty is in the teaching, and we are teaching the students to be able to as a trainer, they divide the work. So in the assessment, we may adopt technology to support us. So our business policy is the teaching and learning policy. Our IT policy that came to support is the turn it in policy, the plagiarism policy, the online and teaching and learning policy, which is supporting our business policy. Good. Now, when we deploy that one, but because when we deploy that one, we end up helping the students to know what to be able to do. However, before we can deploy that business, the turn it in policy, we have to have Sakai. Sakai is a strategy. Sakai maybe within our standard that Sakai is a good tool for us to use, but we didn't know this. So in the beginning, we're using Mojo and we're using Sakai. And then somebody bought Sakai. After experimenting for some time, we settled with Sakai and built the policy around Sakai. So strategy came in to support the business policy. And then when we were settled, then we developed a new policy to govern the Sakai. So most of these things, it's like a chicken and egg issue. One of them comes, and as we gain maturity, we bring another one. So the business policy may come, the strategy may come, and a strategy may be defined, even can be an IT strategy to define to support the business policy. As we are gaining more understanding of the different strategies, which of them work, which of them don't work, then we develop a policy on the one that works and the one we find acceptable. Then we go again and we roll out strategies to implement that one. So if you look at it very carefully, when I showed you the teaching and learning policy, the thing it was calling, most of the IT policy were passed. The IT policy were passed because we experimented with the IT policies and then we developed the reports around it and then use that one to develop we experiment with IT strategies and then develop reports around them, then use that one to inform the development of IT policies. And then today we have the final or IT guidelines. Then today we have a final teaching and learning policy in 2026 that covers and embraces everything. So if you say which of them comes first, which of them comes second, it depends on what you're talking about. A business policy will come before an IT strategy and an IT policy. That one is true, the business policy or the business vision direction. So the IT strategy will serve the business policy, and then the business IT policy will be deployed to govern the strategy. But as time goes on, other strategies will come out to enact the IT policy that we have put out, and then they grow together. They kind of grow together. The problem we have is that most of us come and see the thing after it has been done, but we don't know how we arrived there. So this teacher star one I'm talking about, this one from Samsung, all of the ones we are seeing now, it has been done already. They have been done already. So you think that, oh, this one came first, but you mean in the process it was iterative, where one was shaping the other, or both of them were shaping each other. Please, do you understand me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. So what role do these things play? We have got regulatory, advisory, and informative. Regulatory means that the governing mechanism accord the laws and regulations of the industry, committee, and action and nation, and sometimes the institutions will own regulatory requirements, what they may accept and what they may not accept. Advisory educates stakeholders what is acceptable, what acceptable, addresses self-business communication only. Violation can mean only discipline or dismissal. Now, informative, beyond enforcement and education, policies inform stakeholders, such as a purchase return policy at an online retail shop. Beyond enforcement and education, policies can also inform stakeholders, such as a purchase return policy at a retail shop, informing you of what is expected of you. Now, look at this example and tell me what they are. So this the set of Amazon return policies. The baseline is that Amazon has a number of policies to govern the returns in the organization. And Amazon and most of the sellers on this platform offer returns for items within 30 days of receipt of the shipment. Now look at the holiday policy, the Amazon returns policy, and the seller return policy, and you tell me which of them is regulatory, which of them is. Look at the clauses. Tell me which part of the clauses is regulatory, which of them is informative, which of them is advisory. Let's start with the holiday policy. What is it? Or what are the clauses in it? What are they? Yes, go ahead. Harold, Harold, go ahead.
Holiday policy. The third party shipment followed the same holiday policy unless a seller stated otherwise.
Yes, I'm asking, is it regulatory? Which part of the clause is the whole thing regulatory, advisory,
Yeah, it's regulatory.
or information? Or is it about enforcement, education, or information? Or are parts of it different? So which what do you see here?
It's regulatory.
So I think it's informative.
Are you sure? Who is it binding? You have to look at is there a binding clause? Are there binding clauses in it?
Yes, it's binding to the third party. And that's the shipment.
Fefe, I understand you. Okay, think about it carefully. Okay, so others look at it. Now look at the Amazon returns. Items shipped from Amazon.com, including warehouse deals, can be returned within 30 days. In most cases, some products carry different policies or requirements. Is it informational, advisory, or regulatory? Irene,
So please, can it be two things at the same time?
look at the clauses. Which aspect of the clause is what? Which aspect of the clause is what? So there are
This
clauses
is a
in there.
regulatory. Is regulatory.
Which of them? The Amazon returns.
Yes, please.
Why you say it's regulatory?
For please oh, okay. For please, I'll change it to informative rather because it's informing us that within 30 days, in most cases, we can return um items that which were shipped.
Okay. So it's informational, but maybe you
Yes,
are saying that the time part is the regulatory part.
yes,
That if you
please.
go beyond it, it's not okay. So you are saying that generally it is information, but
Yes,
there's a
please.
regulation within it which is about the 30 days. That if
Yes,
I lose the
please.
30 days, I shouldn't even think of submitting it.
Yes,
Okay.
please. Yes, please.
Okay. And so it's largely informational, but there is an regulatory requirement inside. Do I fit the 30 days? That's the binding part. Okay. Understood. This is a different explanation for all the three classes. So very interesting. Everybody was saying just information. In fact, in the past, everybody just says information. But I like what you are saying. That the clause, the generally information, but they are telling you a binding part. Are you within 30 days? If you're not within 30, don't come and talk about returns. Okay. So if that is the case, then let us go to holiday policy again. What is the holiday policy? Let's look at the clauses gradually. Items shipped by Amazon between November 1st and 31st could be returned within until 31st January 2017 for a full refund, subject to other return guidelines. Now, this is different from the 30 days. This one is about 90 days. If you take November 1st to 31st, that's about 90 days. But it only applies to holiday. If you bought the thing between November 1st and 31st, you have got up to 90 days. But the general one is the 30 days. If you look at it carefully, for a full refund, subject to other return guidelines, third-party shipments follow the same holiday policy, unless the seller stated otherwise. That's a different story. Okay, but the first part, is it information, is it regulatory, or is it what's the name? Is it advisory? Remember, there's an existing one with the Amazon returns, but then for the holiday, they have made one for specifically for holiday. So what is it? Okay, what is it? I can see a number of hands up. I see Fefe, I see Irene, I see Sule. Sule, you have not talked, so go ahead. I see Mustafa. Hey, this question there seems a lot of people have different views. Sorry.
Okay, so sir, from my understanding, it is informational, but however, there's a condition underneath it within the information.
Really?
Yes, sir. Because yes, Prof. Because it gives you 90 days. You say you have 90 days within those holiday periods to be able to receive a full refund.
Okay, so let me just say something that will help. Every policy is baseline is an information. But if it has an enforcement or advice, then it becomes either regulatory or advisory. So come back again.
So this will be advisory then.
That's your view. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, Prof.
Okay.
Sorry.
Let me see Jesse. Jesse is Jesse name. Please, if you mention something, you have to give us the clause that the word or the sentence or the verb that makes you think it is advisory or it's regulatory. Jesse, please go ahead. Oh, Jesse, we are waiting for you. You put your hand there, you can't unmute yourself. Sorry, Prof. Okay. You can't unmute, then type it. They will read it out. Okay. Fefe and Irene. Fefe can go first, and Irene will come.
Okay, so
Irene,
Doc, I'm seeing regulatory, informative, and then the last part to be advisory because the item shipped by Amazon, the 90 days, that means the baseline is the least they can go, that's the 30. But if they are saying they can go beyond the 30 days, then that means it's becoming a regulation for the holiday policy. That means beyond that, they cannot do anything. And then informative to also know that because they've given a baseline, but they are telling you that with the holiday policy, it's having an exceptional rule from the baseline. So that's what I've seen.
So after the information, I understand you, but I don't understand the first part. You said is what is it regulatory or advisory? What are you trying to say?
Yes, please. Regulatory because the baseline one and the baseline is 30. That's the worst they can go for general rule. But
So for
with the
holiday, the regulation now is 90 days. That's what you're trying to say. And you are letting
yes,
me know.
please. Yes,
Okay,
please.
okay. So the regulatory part here is that it is 90 days binding. That only for those who purchase between November 1st and 31st, they have 90 days. Okay. Then you said the third party shipment follow the same policy unless the seller stated otherwise. It's information or advisory. Or that's information.
And please, information.
Information. Okay,
It's
thank
also
you very much.
information, yes, please.
Okay, that's very good explanation. Yes, why are their hands getting lost? I'm not saying he's right too. We are all analyzing. I'm understanding his own. I'm
Prof, I
understanding.
somehow agree with Benjamin.
Okay. Why? Explain your point.
Well,
But please, the clauses are different lines, so you can't make the whole thing in one big sentence. You have to look at it very carefully because this is legal issues. Okay. So Irene, we are waiting for you.
Prof,
Small
please,
of
just like how Benjamin explained earlier on, when you take the duration for the time within which customers can go for a return, they give a deadline, so it's more of like based on that, it's a regulatory.
yes, it's regulatory
Yes.
for that part.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
So
But
that
I
part,
was
okay.
thinking that the third party shipment follows that one too. Could be an advisory as well.
Okay. No, but advice to who? The seller or to the buyer or who?
To the
I
buyer,
think
unless a seller stated otherwise, it's to the buyer. It's to you
is that
buying.
where is the advice in it?
Uh,
It's not
see,
information.
the advice is more of like um if the third party shipment followed the advice is like the third party shipment. Oh, okay.
You see, let's go back. Let's go and understand the things very well. It says that advisory educates stakeholders on what is acceptable and what is not, and the consequences of unacceptable behavior. Regulation ensures the governing mechanisms. So the dates and things are governing mechanisms that are telling us what is within the laws, what is within accept. So if you talk about a return, 30 days is what is within the law. 90 days is what's within the law for holiday for them. Then policies inform. They can inform you that there's a policy for this. So if that is the case, then the third party shipment follow the same holiday. It's just an information that is giving you, unless the seller stated otherwise. Okay, let me not. I'm not saying you are wrong. I'm just saying the way you defend it. Let's look at that. Okay, Isaac. But all right, we are not going to seller returns. Everybody think about seller returns. Let's take Isaac, then we go to seller returns. Isaac, go ahead.
Well, so I am thinking it's advisory because of the could be returned until 31st.
Oh,
And then
could be returned means that this is the return time. We are not forcing you to return. So it's like what we are offering to you. You can return it within this time. That's all. If you look at all the returns, they tell you can be returned. It means that if you want to return, they're not making return mandatory. That's why it is there. But they are telling you
okay.
the timeline that you can use. And that's where others are arguing, and that one is more regulatory. You can't go beyond that one. That's a binding statement. That
All
if you
right.
want full refund, subject to other guidelines, you have to do it before 2017, 31st July. Now let's look at seller returns. Orders fulfilled by third-party sellers go back to the seller, not Amazon. Sellers must provide US return address, a prepaid return label, a refund without return, a full refund without return, or a full refund without return. Failing that, buyers may file A to Z guarantee claim. Now, who is the binding on?
Bias.
Hey, are you sure?
It's the
The third
seller.
party. The third
The
party.
seller.
The seller.
It's the seller.
Yes. Third party seller. Orders fulfilled by third party sellers go back to the seller. So the money will not come to the item you are returning should go to the seller. Sellers must provide a US return address, a prepaid return label, or a full refund without return. So if you want the thing to be, if I join the return policy as a seller, when you send something to to a consumer, to a buyer, you have to add a return label. So if the person is returning it, to come to you, which you have paid for it already. That's to join their policy. Or if you don't want to add all those things, add a full refund that you refund to the person without taking the item back. It's possible. I know the item is faulty. So if it's faulty and the person has opened it already, you have to refund the thing without that one. Failing that, if buyers may file an A to Z guarantee claim, that means that something to cover them, kind of an insurance system, so that they can be able to get it back. They can get their money back. Now, buyers may file. Is it advisory or informational? Yes, Jesse. You can type it.
I think it's informative, sorry. Was letting the
Hey.
buyers know the rights.
Okay. Buyers may file.
Yes.
Also for the buyer, it's
Buyers,
information. But
yes.
seller, that statement is what?
It's regulatory because that one is giving them like a rule to which they must
That after this one, if you don't do it,
engage.
the buyers can hold you on, take you on. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So in here you are seeing regulatory to the seller and then some information to the buyer. Is that what you are saying?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. Emmanuel Champon.
Yeah, okay, sir. So I did a bit of reading on the difference between the three clauses, regulatory, advisory, and informational. I think at first glance, when you read, for example, when you read the holiday, the wording is kind of is it loose, or for the lack of a better word, a bit friendly. You could. So you could items shipped between these dates could be returned. So I think that is advisory. But when you look at the last one, the seller return, sellers must return. So when you Google the difference between these three, one of the things that came up is that usually regulatory clauses have stronger tone. So like you will see words like must, shall, like it kind of gives an order sort of. And when you look at clauses, an advisory clause, it has loose terms like may, could, recommended, should. Yeah, and then, but I think all of them too are informational. They are informational, but then,
That one I mentioned earlier, that they are all
yeah,
information, a
yeah,
baseline.
yeah, it
Yeah.
is the advisory and the regulatory the advisory and the regulatory bit that you can add to either you can add to the informational. So for me, I think the holiday policy is advisory, and then the seller return is strictly regulatory.
Okay, but you see, you also have to look at who is the audience of it. The seller return is the seller that is regulatory too.
Yes,
But it's maybe informational to the buyer.
yes, but say I think when you look at all the three types, at the end of the day, there will be parties, and something will be binding to one party or the other.
Good.
There will definitely be two parties in all the three kind of clauses.
Okay, that's a very good point. Now, the holiday policy that you say that is advisory, your argument and your explanation is right, but you also have to look at somebody can argue to you that if you are coming to ask for a return, you should also know whether you are within the timeline. So even though it's advisory, there's a binding timeline. That means that if you're outside the timeline, don't even attempt coming for it.
Yeah.
So there is a regulation in it that even though you could come, you have to make sure that you are within the timeline.
Okay.
Otherwise, yeah, the person can choose to come at any time, think that he can get it. So it's advisory, but there's a deadline. It's like University of Ghana has advertised its website, advertised admissions, and he said, advice. They said that admission deadline is 31st December, but it's your advice to apply early. So you said because the deadline is 31st, you wait till 31st December and go and apply. I hope you understand me. Because they know that there's a deadline, but anything can happen, and that day the computer will not be working, or some things will a lot of people trying to open the site at the same time, it will crash. And they will tell you that you should have applied early.
Okay.
So even though it is the advice is there, but you don't take the advice as not binding. The advice is supposed to protect you. So it is recommended, but it may not be mandatory, as you just said yourself. But this one, there's a timeline for it, that even though it's recommended, the recommendation ends at a time. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So the recommendation is regulated. The advice is regulated. That's what we are saying. So it's a regulated advice. Is that not true?
Yeah, kind of.
Yes. Yes. Otherwise, you know how Ghana is. There's a return policy. I can retire at any time. Who told you? There's a regulated advice. And the holiday period, they're telling you the time that you can. And the holiday one is even an addition to the actual 30 days of they are making you more time in that one. And it also helps to attract more customers, because you know that if you have got more time to return, then you have got opportunity to be able to buy at any time. You buy in 31st December, you can still return. Buy November 1st, you can still return. And it's a way that some Amazon is subtly also making that they get more sales within the holiday period, and they want their sales to start early from November 1st. Okay, but very good. I like all your arguments. Me, I don't mark whether it is right or wrong. I mark more explanation. So I still accept what Isaac just told us and how he defended his own if he submits an exam. But I'll also be happy if you can also know that sometimes advice can have a deadline. Yeah, even though it's advice, you have a deadline and it can be regulated. Otherwise, people will take it for granted. Yeah.
Okay, so not to take us back. So
Yeah.
let's say for these two clauses, let's say if you don't drink water for 7 days, you will die.
Mhm.
And you must drink water to survive. So I think the first clause is advisory, although it may seem a bit binding because you would have to drink water to survive, but then it is an advice generally. It is not something regulating you, although it has a bit of, you need to drink the water to survive. So it is kind of like regulating your behavior. But then at the end of the day,
what you're saying is that the first one is advice, but it's kind of caution in it.
Exactly. So it is purely.
And that's what makes it. Yeah. That gives you the limits of the limits of the advice.
Exactly. Exactly. So I don't see anything regulatory about the holiday.
Okay.
Even though
there is a clause.
Yeah, there is a clause in there that.
Okay, let me explain something to you. When you go and you don't submit on time, they'll tell you that. Haven't you seen that they go and say that the promotion is over?
Okay.
Yes, you show up at the place with your listening. Even if you post it and they didn't receive it on before 31st, and they received on the 1st of the, they tell it's over. You're not entitled to it. That means that you lost it. You lost out.
Okay.
Good. So we can give advisory, but we can. It's like same about applying for a job that it ends on 31st. Advise that apply early or apply before 5 p.m. You go at 6 p.m. They tell us you didn't apply on time. That's all. So there was a regulated deadline, and you should have adhered to it. So there was a binding, even though we were advising you, we're telling them there's still a binding. And remember that, let me say something to you. Look at the Amazon returns one, the information here. Return within 30 days. That means that within 30 days, that means that your last day is the 29th day. Within.
This holiday policy there, I think is very debatable. If somebody will say it's regulatory, it is very, very debatable. Because the wedding effect
but please, do you understand what is regulatory? Regulatory means that if you don't abide by it, you won't get it. You won't get it. That's what it means. And even if it's advisory and you go there, you exceed the 31st July, will you get it? You won't get it. That's all we are trying to tell you.
So we can say. So we can say.
Understand the part regulatory it is. Regulatory means that there is a consequence. You will not get the service if you go beyond it. And advisory also has the same thing as the consequence. But the regulatory means that this is part of our policy. This is part of our mandate. Anyway, I understand what you are saying. But I'm just saying that it's all about how you argue out. Whichever it is, it's a policy the organization is giving to you.
Yeah. Doc.
Mhm.
Yeah. So sorry. So with the I think that the regulator is becoming a problem, but I think that let's use a submission of assignment. We have been given 3 days. The lecturer said 3 days, but on the third day he said 12 p.m. Now, if you do it at 11 and the lecturer shall not accept, you have every right to go and report that no, I did it before 12. But if it is beyond 12, it says 3 days. So that means you can do it day 1, day 2. But if the day 3 is beyond 12 and the lecturer give you 0, there is nothing you can do. You can send it to anywhere.
Thank
There is
you.
no law that will
Thank
back
you.
you. So I
So it
think
means that you didn't follow the what the regulation.
Yes, please.
Thank you. That's what it means. So you can have an advice. I can communicate a regulation in an advisory manner. That I'm advising you that submit early, even though you can submit by 31st, 2018, 2017, or 21, whatever it is. Yeah, Irene, please go ahead. Okay, so somebody is also telling me here that in my office that, Prof, the regulatory means that you should do accordance to the laws and regulation of the industry, community, and then the nation. That means that you are offering the regulations that you are offering refund, and the refund has to be timed. So let's ask, are you offering refund? Yes. Is the refund timed? Good. So he has fulfilled the regulation. Number 2, he's advising you that for the holiday time, even though the time was 30 days, he's giving you more time. But if you beat the time, you will not get it. Like just like the assignment, if you beat the time, you won't get your full refund. That's all. So he's advising you in the intention of the policy, but he's also letting you know that that advice is regulated within a timeline. So the holiday policy, according to what I'm being told here, is more informational, but it still has a regulated deadline in it, which you have to adhere to. Otherwise, people will just abuse it. Is that one understandable? Is that explanation is understandable?
I think now it's very clear. Very, very
Good.
clear.
God, please, not to send that, so not to send us back. But when I listened to Emmanuel was speaking in the lines of, when he reads the policy, he uses the auxiliary verbs to ascertain whether this one is informative or this one is advisory or this one is regulative. And
yes,
you didn't debunk any of them. So at a point, what he was saying stood.
Oh no, me, I'm listening to you, but I'm not trying to argue. And that's what happened in exam. But I won't accept everything because you got the intent of the policy. You have the verbs, but the verbs are followed by a timeline until. What about the word until there? You can do this until I come back. Until. And even for a full refund, subject to tells you that even there are possibilities that you may not even get it. Subject to. Please, you understand it?
Noted, please.
So that's how. Yeah. So as I was saying that, I was trying to tell you that it looks advisory, but it has got key a subtle regulations into that. One, there's a timeline. Number 2, even your ability to get a refund is subject to other return guidelines, which are not stated here. So it's not automatic. And like what he used, our gentleman used concerning the assignment. If you go after 12, you can't get you are late. The same way here. So Irene, what you are trying to inform me is that when people develop policies, in the intent of the policy and the statement they have in it, they can mix the two. One, they are informing you. 2, they are advising you. 3, they are also telling you what is possible and what's not possible in terms of regulation. And what they actually can commit to and what they cannot commit to. Even in the definition of advisory, they said what is acceptable, what's not acceptable, and the consequences of unacceptable behavior. So it's advising you that this thing that you are going to do, if you don't fall within the time, you will not get it. And you're not getting it because it is within our regulations that out of 30 days, you don't qualify. I've even seen promotions in Ghana here, in which they take 50% off. And you come there, they say over the weekend though. You come Monday morning, they said that it ended on Saturday. And it doesn't apply on Monday. You see the item there in front of you, it doesn't apply. Because when they take it, the boss will look at the date in which you purchase it. You purchase it on Monday, and the thing ended on Saturday. No matter what Sunday just has passed through, they will still not give you it. But sometimes the boss, out of discretion, that we are extending it for last minute returns and things up to Monday. I've seen it here in a little land before. A little much, sorry, before. So even though they're advising you, they tell you that advice has got its limits, and you cross it, they will not accept it, and that will be the consequence. And it's because they have regulated, they have done some regulations to protect themselves. Otherwise, anybody can take them to court, like the gentleman gave the example earlier. Okay, so everything is informing, but enforcement and education is what he's trying to do. So you might have an enforcement, but you have to educate people, or you may seek to educate people, but you may also let them know what is possible and what's not possible. The thing is that in certain communications, some of the things are not well spelled out. Sometimes they just leave it like that, but you may need to know which of them is doing. Is it just doing information? Is it just also advising you about some regulations? Is it also telling you? Let me just show you some things from the University of Ghana policies. Okay, so this is the e-learning policy. Let's look at the faculty part. Faculty have, you see, faculty obligations. Faculty have the responsibility in establishing. This one is a must. So it's regulatory. The course syllabus, learning objectives, formal assessment, all of them. All faculties possess the right to determine the instructional pedagogy of their courses assigned to them. The first one is a must. The second one is giving you that even though it's a must, you have got for the instructional pedagogy in how you are going to deliver the teaching is up to you. Faculty are also responsible for assessing the learning outcomes, that those learning outcomes have been achieved. The responsibility of the faculty with regard to students are primarily instructional and scholarly, and secondarily administrative. So this captures the dimensions of the regulation. It's instructional, it's scholarly. Out of your scholarly work, you're supposed to make sure you're giving the students the right information. And instructional, you are supposed to deliver the learning according to the learning outcomes. Lastly, it's also administrative. When we come and check from accreditation, you should have met the accreditation requirements. Faculty, through personal study and research, shall pursue academic self-improvement and course improvement. You yourself, I should go away, find ways of improving the course and your delivery on it. Keep me abreast with new developments. What are the new ways of teaching this course? And research that leads to useful and original contribution towards advancement of knowledge. Faculty shall undertake administrative work such as required, including committee work at various levels, and that one is different. In discharging their duties, faculty shall ensure the following: that a student-centered learning environment is created through the provision of information regarding the course. This should include the details. So all these are mandatory on this is not advisory. You, the lecturer, has to do it. Form responses are provided to student inquiries. This one, they say to hold us. Faculty are advised to clearly state their course outline, their response times for requiring frequent inquiries. This helps you. So in my own, I didn't state the time, but we are advised. So please do see that we are in the midst of shall, but advice is coming. Please, I read and code. You see it?
Yes.
Isaac, okay, you see it. Good. All that you are ensured that all online courses are well organized, easy for students to navigate, predictable, and provide ongoing student support and constructive feedback. This will help the student's success. All communication with the student is clear and polite. Please, if the lecturer is not being polite, you can tell them their documentation. It is always important for faculty to provide precise and clear information to students. Such information should be widely disseminated using all available official means. Today, you saw that I was using all official means. I'm using WhatsApp. I'm also trying to put it on Sakai. I'm also making it available on YouTube. I'm trying to use all the means. Where a student needs permission of the faculty to register a course, such as permission, just permission should not be withheld. That's different. Faculty shall at all times comply with relevant statutes of the university. Okay. They shall not accept money or other service rendered in kind from students or their guardians or parents for assistance in any course for which the said faculty is engaged to teach. So if a lecturer cannot collect money for you to teach a course to you, but the way they are written, it means that a lecturer can help you to teach. For example, I am not teaching you supervised learning. So if you get to supervised learning, I can help you. I'm just joking, but I'm just trying to say the way they have stated it looks like if the course you are teaching, you cannot, or as part of the faculty's normal duties. Okay, supervised learning can be part of my normal duties. So if you go and take a course in odontology, and maybe I can help you and give you some tutorials on how to be able to do that course very well. But this is not, students shall immediately and with agency report such faculty if a faculty is collecting money to teach you the course again. Okay, so please, you see that sometimes advisory can pass through what is even mandatory. That's what I just wanted to show you. So something may largely be advisory, but it can also have a regulatory side. Something can have largely be regulatory, but can also have an advice section. And me, I will argue that the last one, the one to the sellers, it is largely regulatory, but has an advice for buyers too. The buyers can also file what? An A to Z guarantee claim. Is that okay? Or am I still confusing you? Or you have confused yourself with the way you understand it? Please don't look at the clauses alone. Look at the intent of the statements in it and the other binding statement that could be in it. Is that okay? Class, is that okay? Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
This is a class that has really taken this thing very far. Very, very interesting. I'm very happy, but that you are engaging in it in that particular manner. Okay, so regulatory. Which clauses bind the sellers by obligation or bind the buyers by obligation? Which clauses steer the customer behavior? And which clauses tell stakeholders how things work? So if you look at it from here, this one tells how things work in the baseline. This one here, the Amazon return tells you how things work. Okay, and then which one steer customer behavior? Advisory is steering customer behavior. Here to is steering customer behavior, failing that buyers may file steer customer behavior. And then which causes bind the sellers or bind the actors? The timeline here bind the actors. The timeline here, the must provide US return address bind the actors. So now do we understand it? Now do we understand it? Manuel.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay.
But say based on this definition, it
Mhm.
means the last one, seller return, it binds the seller. So
Yes, we said
that
that
one
earlier.
is regulatory. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
We said that. But the latter part of it is advisory to the buyer. It shares the buyer's action to the
Okay.
buyer. But it's also letting the seller know that the buyer has rights.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right.
Good. Okay, so look at it very carefully. Weight clauses bind the people. Weight clauses steer, and the steer means that it can advise you to go that way. Then informative clauses just tell you how things work. Okay. Thank you very, very much. We have come to the end of the class. I like the input that you've all given for the class. I like what Emmanuel did in going to check online and see that clauses, sometimes the verbs in the clauses can indicate where we are going. And then we also learned something else from other people who are also sharing their views. Thank you very, very, very much. Thank you very much. Now, most of you, let me just pass this comment. Oh, Ida, go ahead.
Sir, please, I want to have an understanding. This is policy. When you are comparing policy with acts, do they work hand in hand, or acts are higher than policy? Or because some of the things feels like it's an act, it's a policy. So I'm a bit confused with the two.
No, you said this is policy. We are comparing policy with what?
No, this is policy we are studying. But I'm also looking at an act. Probably we have acts that bind us, the country, in what we should do.
Okay.
So I'm just asking.
Okay. I understand. You. Acts are much more at the higher level, higher forms of regulations. That's why we said that. Yeah, acts are not at the institutional level. They are more about at the national level. So if you look at it, I stated it here that ensure the organization governing mechanisms are in accordance with the laws, the acts, the regulation of the industry, the community, and the nation. And then they also communicate it within the organization itself. So some organizations have their own regulations internally, and they also have to adhere to the national one. So, for example, things concerning the Electronic Transactions Act, how the legality of a person's email address when you are doing transactions online, or legality of a person's password when you are doing transaction online. All those are embedded and enshrined in the Electronic Transaction Act. And the person in Ghana operating a website in Ghana, people are buying and selling, you have to adhere to it.
Okay, thank you very much.
You are very right. Okay. Okay. Good. I was going to say something, I really forgot.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
So one last submission. The a policy like a refund policy. Not all companies or firms in a specific industry have a refund policy.
Yes, please.
Yes. So for a policy like that,
but in some countries, some industries, it's part of the industry that if you want to be in this type of particular retail industry, you have to have a refund policy because it's a right to the customer.
Okay.
Some countries. In Ghana, that we have got a lot of operational leeways.
Yeah. Because I was coming to ask that if it is discretionary, as a company, I can choose not to have a refund policy. Then it means that I am purely advising you. But then if
if I can choose not to have a refund policy, then don't go and say that you have a refund policy. Because as soon as you put refund there, it becomes a policy. And now what circumstances can I get a refund?
Okay.
Please, a return policy is that you telling the people the requirements for me to get a refund, so that I will don't just sit down that I can just get up and get a refund.
Yeah.
And one of your requirements is that it's within 30 days, but when you get holidays, it's 90 days. And even all of this is subject to other refund guidelines. For example, the condition of the item when you bring it, and it will show you how much you can get.
Okay.
Do you understand? Some people even have a refund policy that the first day, if you come a day after, they will take 10% off. If you come a month after, they will take 80% off. So if you don't take care, you may even lose out in going.
Okay.
Because refund processing is also is an activity. So if they leave it open, the company will lose money from that. They actually refund the money to you. Meanwhile, you could have sold that product to somebody else. And the product you have given is not in perfect condition. It's now in mint condition. Some you have worn the dress. We can't resell the dress. I hope you understand. It didn't fit you. You have worn the dress.
Yeah.
It's only Ghana that somebody can wear a dress, take it back, then they will not even wash it. They'll still put it back on the shopping floor and then give you another one. You take it away. And another person can sell the dress to the person. So sometimes I mean to see that you buy some clothes, online things, and they bring it to you. This thing looks like it has been worn before. Anyway, thank you very much. We have seminar in a few minutes, in about 6:20. Is it 6:20 or something like that? Okay, thank you very, very much. So let me leave it here. But I hope we have understood. The conversations are the way we have started. It means that the whole semester we are going to have very interesting discussions. I'm happy about that. We didn't start on a high note, but I'm realizing that the class is on fire. Class is on fire. Harold, thank you for your. Hey, Jasmine, you didn't even say anything to us. You are now doing what? Showing that you are on fire. Next week, I'll meet you in seminar. Anyway, thank you very, very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Prof.